Hi everyone, this is the Read by Sight software. We have the volume turned down so you can hear the narration, but you can see what's going on. The student is reading the first chapter of The Wizard of Oz aloud, and the computer is picking it up. Each spelling that's pronounced is highlighted, giving them instant feedback. If they make a mistake, the highlight pauses and they can try again. If they get stuck, they click to hear the pronunciation so they're never stuck for long. The result is that every pronunciation is reinforced on the spot, and every mistake is corrected on the spot, either when they try again and get it right, or they click to hear the pronunciation. This specific form of feedback has long been the missing component of reading instruction. In the early grades, it's built around phonics and sounding out. But sounding out and phonics aren't a permanent state. Phonics is a means to an end, but it isn't the end in itself. The ultimate end and purpose of phonics is to solidify the pronunciation for each spelling in memory. That's what we call reading by sight, and we have to learn to do it for several tens of thousands of spellings. This becomes vital as students move on to chapter books. They begin encountering more and more longer spellings with more and more misleading letters that lead to mistaken pronunciations. Successful readers bridge this by learning to read by sight. Students who don't are left behind. Reading by sight simply means reflexively uttering the pronunciation for each spelling. It's a skill that has to be developed. These are some examples of what students face. They come right at the start of The Wizard of Oz. The first spelling includes two O's. A student might wonder if the second O makes the first O long, and also if the second O should be short, like the O in hot and got. And what about the Y? Should it be pronounced like long I, as in the title of the book A Fly Went By? Next is the spelling Lived. What should it rhyme with? We live in the country or we saw the game live. You can't tell from the spelling alone. You have to know it or be told. And that's where we come in. If the student is stuck between two choices, they can try lived, for example. If the highlight doesn't move, they can immediately try lived, and when that moves the highlight, that is learning in action. The mistake was corrected and the correct pronunciation was reinforced. Next, OF is pronounced as though it were spelled UV, of. In great, the A in EA supposedly makes the E long, but then we'd have to pronounce it as greet instead of great. In Kansas, the last three letters are SAS, but we don't pronounce them as sass. It's more like this, Kansas. And for the I in prairies, the rule says the E should make the I long, but that would give us prairies instead of prairies. Problems like these aren't rare, they're everywhere. They confuse students, they cause attention to drift, and more than anything, they can make them give up in frustration. But with Read by Sight, they all become non-issues. As adults, we can observe in ourselves that we don't labor through sounding out spellings letter by letter. Instead, we read by sight. We pronounce each spelling reflexively. Phonics and sounding out only apply at best to initial encounters with a spelling. Each time after that, they gradually give way, as the student becomes ever more able to react to the spelling anytime, anywhere they see it, by reflexively pronouncing it. The end state of being an accomplished, competent reader is reading by sight, pronouncing virtually every spelling we see instantly and reflexively. That is exactly what we teach. The specific goal of Read by Sight is to help students master pronouncing each of some 20,000 spellings instantly and reflexively, and to solve their reading problems once and for all. We could extend lessons beyond 20,000 spellings, but there'd be no point. By that time, students simply don't need help anymore. Many students will need a year to master the full 20,000 spellings. Some will need a second year as well. Fewer will need a third, and fewer still will need a fourth. But it doesn't take a year, let alone 3 or 4, for permanent gains to begin. They begin immediately as students learn to pronounce new spellings from the very first lesson. By the time students learn to pronounce their first 1,000 spellings, marked improvements will be obvious. By the time they master 5,000 spellings, they'll be well on their way to being accomplished readers. They'll also be at or near a level from which they never would have been diagnosed with reading problems in the first place. By the time they master 10,000 spellings, they'll definitely be at that level. A sight vocabulary of 10,000 spellings makes for a very, very accomplished reader. By the time they master the full 20,000 spellings, their reading problems will be a thing of the past. They'll be able to effortlessly read the vast majority of spellings they encounter throughout high school and well into their college years. And they'll be able to effortlessly read virtually every spelling they encounter on their SAT and ACT college entrance exams. At that point, our job at Read by Sight will be done. And as a parent, the same will be true for you. It will be mission accomplished as far as reading goes. We have a great deal more information under the More Info menu on our website. It is some of the clearest and most important information on reading available anywhere. You can click Sign Up in the description below or on our homepage at readbysight.com. Read by Sight can make all the difference for struggling readers. The goal is to help students solve their reading problems once and for all and never look back for the rest of their lives. We hope we can do that for your child.